Welcome back. It's time yet again for our Statist of the Week. The legislature's in recess. I'm up in Coeur d'Alene, but unfortunately, statism is never in recess. No, you might say statism is the energizer bunny of political ideologies. It keeps going and going and going, like that old bunny in the TV commercials. And because statism includes philosophies such as socialism, Marxism, and communism, the politicians who practice statism are very busy all the time trying to explain why they're supportive of bigger and bigger government instead of free markets, free enterprise, capitalism, and the things that we love. Now, I got a whole bunch of nominations this week, all because of how legislators' freedom indexes were looking. So these nominations were for legislators who really struggled with appearing as if they're in favor of limited government. We heard from folks who wanted to nominate Senators Jim Woodward and Lee Hyder. Jim Patrick was nominated. We also heard for nominations for Laura Likely and Clark Kaufman. Lance Clow got a shout out. Linda Hartkin also did because of their obvious support for growing government. But this week, we're going to focus on one nominee, and that's Rick Youngblood. Yes, Rick Youngblood of Nampa, representative in the Idaho House of Representatives. You're our Statist of the Week in the new category of outstanding dedication to making up stuff about others in order to validate your voting record. Yes, I just kind of made up that category, but you'll see it fits. Recently, Youngblood was asked, why is your Freedom Index score so terrible? And Youngblood has a 59% on the index, which means he isn't worse than some, but he's certainly not better than others. Instead of owning up to the fact that he's been voting for bigger and bigger government, has been since January, and now we're nearing the end of March, Youngblood decided to make up some false claims about the Idaho Freedom Foundation. In an email, which I got a copy of, Youngblood claimed that the Idaho Freedom Foundation is somehow connected to the Libertarian Party. I don't know if that's a state Libertarian or national Libertarian Party, but he said we're connected with the Libertarian Party and that we've been busy promoting gambling, prostitution, and transgenderism. Now that's just nonsense. Talk about really bogus, and also talk about the pot trying to pretend it's not actually the kettle. Because, by the way, the word transgenderism, that word's going to come into play later on in this episode, and no, it's not us at the Freedom Foundation that's promoting it. Foreshadowing. But first, why does Youngblood have a 59% on the Idaho Freedom Index? Well, in order to figure that out, you have to look at his voting record. So let's go ahead and look at Youngblood's voting record together, shall we? You will find that Representative Youngblood voted to make it a crime for drivers to hold their phone and have a navigation app running at the same time. He voted to put the state in the broadband business instead of depending on the free market to fix broadband connectivity speeds in our state. He voted to raise a bunch of fees. He voted to raise snowmobile fees and driver's license fees and hunting fees. Youngblood voted to criminalize an exercise of free speech, which happens to be protected by both our federal and state constitutions, which should mean something. He voted to impose a series of new regulations on insurers and on farmers and on landlords. He voted against making it easier for voters to figure out the effect of a bond or levy election on your ballot. Youngblood also voted to continue to require cities and counties to pay millions of dollars a year to print legal notices in the newspaper, legal notices that hardly anyone ever reads, but the newspapers really want the money, and so they lobby the legislature to keep that requirement in place. Phew, that's a lot, and my throat is giving out just saying all of it. Now, I'll grant you, looking at just the Freedom Index, he's not as much of a statist as some of the Republicans and Democrats with whom Youngblood serves in the Idaho House of Representatives. But on the Idaho Spending Index, that's another measure you can find on our website at idahofreedom.org. On the Spending Index, Youngblood votes exactly the same as big government liberal Democrats in the Idaho House of Representatives. I say that again, did not stutter. Youngblood's voting record on appropriations matters is identical to that of the most lefty of the leftists in the Idaho House of Representatives. Youngblood, of course, is the chairman of the House Appropriations Committee. Maybe that explains it. It doesn't matter. The point is his voting record is identical. And of transgenderism, remember that word I told you was going to come up again? It was Youngblood who voted to give a $6 million grant to a left-wing organization that teaches pre-kindergartners that babies are capable of being racist and that gender is fluid. That's the bill that was rated negatively on the spending index that Rick Youngblood voted for. So Rick Youngblood is being dishonest about his voting record. He's being dishonest about IFF because he's a statist and his voting record bears that out. And that's why Rick Youngblood, representative from Nampa, Idaho, is our statist of the week. Now, we're going to compile all the statists from January through the end of March and find a statist of the quarter. So be sure to stay tuned to that. And if you have your own suggestions for nominations, keep sending them in, please. Wayne@idahofreedom.org is the email address. Also, don't forget to please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Be sure to share this with your friends. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit the notification button and leave a comment too. That's helpful as well. And again, please be sure to keep sending those nominations in, and we'll be sure to talk to you again next time.